Black Widow was a film that was supposed to kick off Marvel's Phase 4 in 2020, but then Rona hit, so it got pushed to 2021. The film stars Scarlett Johansson in that lead role of that badass assassin that we knew and loved since Iron Man 2. The plot of the film is pretty simple if you ask me. Marvel Studios forgot to give Black Widow her own solo film years ago, so here it is now in 2021. It's not too late. Not really. Here comes a really cool story with really awesome new characters like the Red Guardian. Not really. But here's one of the dopest villains from Marvel Comics, the Taskmaster. He's really cool. Not really. Alright guys, calm down. It was only a joke. Not really. What's up everybody, welcome back to The Hez Project. I'm John Rodolaza, and today we're catching up on some Marvel films that I missed during the year of 2021. Black Widow, and I will be reviewing Shang-Chi in about a week or so stay tuned for that. But right now, let's talk about Scarlett Johansson's first solo film as the character of Black Widow. I'm gonna issue a spoiler warning for those who haven't seen the film, because I know it's not a year old yet. It just came out in June-ish, so go watch the film, then come back here, let's talk about some spoilers for the film. I personally think there was a whole lot going against this movie, particularly the prequel aspect of it, because we just got off of Endgame 2 years ago when she sacrificed herself. Black Widow sacrificed herself to get that Soul Stone so that they could defeat Thanos, bring everyone back to life. That was her purpose in that movie. Say what you will about Black Widow, I personally don't think that she shined enough from her introduction up until her sacrifice in Endgame. This movie, the idea of a Black Widow movie, should have come out years before Infinity War and Endgame. I mean years before. It should have happened right after Winter Soldier or right after Civil War, where it takes place. It takes place during the events between Civil War and Infinity War, so it should have happened there. I just really think there's a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on the shoulders of the studio to give us a movie like this. A character that sacrificed themselves is already dead. You're asking us to go back in time and care about them again. I don't buy into the stakes of this movie now because I know she survives them. So with that logic, the movie has to be good and it has to deliver and it has to be exciting, and it just wasn't for me. Let me go into some positives real quick before you guys get pissed off and start angrily slapping your keyboard. Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow is really good. She's always been good as the role. I've always loved her in Iron Man 2, and in Avengers, and in Winter Soldier. She's so good in this role. I love it. She's an awesome, badass person. I buy into her as this badass character, as this assassin, and they delve into that world a little more of her backstory. We get that origin of the Black Widow program and how these Black Widows are shaped and formed from at a very young age. We get introduced to a young 10-year-old-ish Natasha in the beginning of the film with her younger sister, Yelena, who's like 6 maybe. And they both get injected into the Black Widow program, so that's a hard life, dude. Ivan, I believe his name is. He's the one who organizes the Black Widow program. He's the one who had that deal with Red Guardian to take his 2 daughters, which weren't really his daughters, apparently. Red Guardian, Alexei, is not their biological father, and the actress, it's a the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. Rachel Weisz's character, she's not their mother. So already with the warm and comforting opening of the family, it's already kind of dark and deep, because that's not the real family. I appreciate that they attempted to give more depth to the Black Widow character and give her just something more to grab onto, because, you know, you need that heart, and I really did like David Harbour in this movie. He was probably one of my favorites of the family. Even Yelena. Yelena was actually my favorite of the new characters. I think she's so adorable and so funny in this movie. I bought into it and I loved it. You do get that standard Marvel Studios comedy, and for the most part, I think it works in here. I love the back and forth when we get to see Yelena hanging out with Natasha after so many years being apart. I thought all that stuff was really good. Her making fun of Natasha for the poses that she does. You're such a poser. Like, I love that shit. It was so funny to me. Alexa in prison talking to all of his other prison mates about how he used to fight Captain America, and one of the prison guys was like, wasn't he frozen during that fight? That Alexei would headbutt the dude, break his nose, and said, "You calling me a liar?" My issue with this movie being a prequel isn't really like about the movie and plot itself. I don't mind what goes on in the movie and that it takes place right after Civil War. My problem lies with the fact that we all got hyped for Endgame. We saw Natasha sacrifice herself for her real, true family that cares about her and loves her and is there for her. then we just did back to, oh, she's alive again and she's doing this now. This already happened, by the way. Like I said, we get the beginning of the movie with Natasha and Yelena getting pushed into the Black Widow program at a very young age. Then we get the title sequence with a really dope cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. And then it just cuts to present day, you know, right after Civil War. And she's being hunted by General Ross for violating the Sokovia Accords. Once again, keeping it pretty vague, but it's still connective tissue that has really nothing to do with the Black Widow film. And if you're walking into it, you don't know what's going on. My dummy brain and a lot of normies' brains would probably go, this guy Ross works for Ivan, right? And he's trying to get Natasha back to the Black Widow program. That's where I think the normies' brains would go. And Taskmaster, dude. Okay, so here's my knowledge of Taskmaster. I haven't read comics with Taskmaster in it, but I've seen a lot of videos talking about stuff he's done in the comics. I played the Spider-Man PS4 game that had a series of Taskmaster side quests in them, and he's a dope character, I'm not gonna lie. He's pretty cool. Very dope, menacing villain. He learns from every encounter he has with you and just studies all of your fights and your maneuvers, and he uses them against you in the next fight. And he's got sort of a grizzled vibe to him, like he's been around these parks for a while. He's got this attitude about him. In this movie, he knows all the Avengers maneuvers, doesn't talk, and is a chick. Was it supposed to be this big reveal that Taskmaster was Ivan's daughter? Like, I don't care. In the end, Taskmaster goes into the bin of poorly executed MCU villains because there was so much potential, but they went such a weird and boring route for the character. I can't believe it, dude. Like, it's so boring. Special effects in here, they're pretty standard for Marvel. They got their own certain look to them these days, so you can kind of tell what's Marvel and what's not. And I don't think it's terrible. It's just, you know, it's got a look to it. Like that whole scene with the planes falling, a bunch of cargo, and Natasha just flying through all of the debris, fighting Taskmaster as they're falling. Kind of a cool visual, but I just think it's too much. Like, it just came across as so much CGI and so much shit in my face. This film kind of does come across as they planned to have certain action scenes and built a movie around them. I just don't think the film organically goes into these action scenes. Some of them just go bonkers sometimes. Like the whole prison sequence and the whole ending just feel unnecessary to me. They go above and beyond for seemingly no reason. Overall, this film's not my least favorite in the MCU, but it's certainly not in the top 10. I just feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities, and this film 110% should have taken place years ago in like 2016, 2017. It really should have, dude. And as I mentioned already in my Hawkeye reviews, I personally think Hawkeye and Black Widow should have had a team-up film. We could have had some modern-day stuff going on, and we also could have had flashbacks to Budapest, because that's been brought up so many times in these movies and the shows. Like, I just want to know, dude. I want to see it. The potential was there for a Black Widow solo film, and in my opinion, the time has passed, and if they ever decide to bring back Scarlett Johansson for some reason, I wouldn't mind it, obviously. I'll still watch it, but I can't see it. It had to be some crazy multiversal variant of Black Widow. I would not mind that, but to have another film, a sequel to Black Widow, I just don't think it's gonna work. You'd have to bring Yelena back at the forefront, and you'd have to team her up with like Kate Bishop or something. That's like years in the making. They could do it. I'd be down for it, but you know, they're probably gonna do like an A-Force or something, all the females. Guys, that is gonna be it for my review for Black Widow. Let me know down below if you've ever seen it, and what did you think about it? What are your thoughts on Black Widow and her own solo film? Do you think she should have got it years ago? What do you think? Let me know down below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and be sure to stick around because I will be covering Spider-Man No Way Home tomorrow. I'm seeing it tonight. You can go catch up on my Spidey reviews. I reviewed the Sam Raimi trilogy, the Mark Webb duology, all in the lead up to Tom Holland's films and Spider-Man No Way Home. So there's a lot of content coming to the channel, a lot of Spidey content. So stick around because there is more to come.